The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good morning. My name is Julia Talbot, and I would like to welcome you to the webinar for potential applicants to the Department of Family and Support Services Family and Community Engagement Request for Proposal, which is put out by our early childhood development team. Here's a little housekeeping just to keep us all on the same page. Due to the volume of participants, everyone has been placed on mute. We ask that you submit your questions to us via the question box, and we will respond to them probably after going through the program or at the very end of the program. We have the program today. We're going to do is two parts. One talks about the actual RFP document itself and the program. The other is more administrative and how to actually make a physical application in the City of Chicago's e-procurement system. And please use the question box to notify us if you're having any technical issues. I am joined today by Mr. William Hill, the Assistant Director of Program Quality and Development, and Sarethel Burgess Burnett, who is our Deputy Commissioner of Early Childhood Development. You can see here our lovely agenda. I'm now going to turn the presentation over to Mr. Hill, and he's going to talk about the program that we are looking to have somebody or a lucky agency apply for so that they can work with us to serve the citizens and the young citizens of Chicago specifically, and help them get a good and a sound early start.
Thank you so very much, Julia. Good morning, everyone. Pleasure to have you all joining us today. And Julia, we can go ahead and proceed to our next slide, and we can go ahead into the purpose of this RFP. This request for proposal seeks to award one support service contractor that can provide subject matter expertise, training, and technical assistance to the Department of Family and Support Services, further known as DFSS, and its Chicago Early Learning, CEL, direct service providers in subjects related to family and community engagement services. Otherwise, in this presentation will be known as FCE, for Family and Community Engagement, as a support service delegate agency. The Family and Community Engagement RFP seeks an organization with the experience in providing adult learning programs and foster relationships with community partners to provide citywide services in support of children and families. A little bit more background on our FCE, or Family and Community Engagement Framework. The Family and Community Engagement is a collaborative and strength-based approach, strength-based process through which early childhood professionals, families, and our children build positive and goal-oriented relationships. It is a shared responsibility of families, staff, and community partners. And you will see here the framework in which we talk about program foundations, which include program leadership, professional development, as well as continuous learning and quality improvement. Also program impact areas, which we look at our program environment, our family partnerships within each of our delegate agencies, learning and teaching, community partnerships, and access and continuity. Also family outcomes. We look at family well-being, strategies to support positive parent-child relationships, supporting families as lifelong educators, and families as learners as well, family engagement in transitions, family connections to peers and community, and families as advocates and leaders in children's lives and the community. And then that all should lead to our positive child outcomes, which indeed that our children are safe, healthy, and well, they're learning and developing, and engaged in positive relationships with family members, caregivers, and other children. And also that they're ready for school and have a successful career and path in school and their life. The FCE support service provider will be responsible for working with DFSS to establish a comprehensive plan, and each direct service delegate agency to establish an agency plan for continuous quality improvement and implementation of the FCE framework, as previously discussed. We would like to begin this process with the exploration phase. of the exploration phase, in which our FCE support service provider will assess the specific needs of our DFSS and our direct service agencies. Once needs are assessed, the support service provider will move to the installation phase, in which we are developing strategies to fit the specific needs addressed or identified within that exploration phase. The next support service will work through the initial implementation phase, in which we're seeking to make data-driven decisions to determine recommendations for continuous improvement. And also, the last stage is the full implementation phase, in which is focused on embedding and maintaining systems to ensure children and family outcomes can be measured effectively. Thank you, Julia. And so what we'll do here, talk a little bit more about that implementation science phases. Here's the four that I've just mentioned: the exploration, the installation, the initial implementation phase, and then the full implementation phase. And again, within the exploration, we're looking to assess needs. We're looking to define models as it relates to based on the self-assessment and based on our actions. What should we do to make decisions for our agencies to support them in family community engagement? We're looking for the installation phase to consist of new services not yet delivered. We develop the implementation supports, and we make necessary structural and instrumental changes within each agency to support the staff and the teachers and the support staff that help support our families on a day-to-day basis. The initial implementation, we're looking to strengthen that service delivery. We're looking to use the data to drive our decision-making process and the continuous improvement plans. And then also we can go to the full implementation, where we have the skillful implementation. The system has been communicated from the top down and the bottom up. And that system will facilitate the organizational changes that has been established. And then again, our ultimate goal is looking for our child and family outcomes to be measurable and impactful. Our goals of this RFP and this FCE family community engagement piece is that DFSS and this direct service delegate agencies are looking to maintain compliance while providing comprehensive, integrative FCE services and strategies that support families through program foundations and impact areas to achieve the 7 family outcome goals that was discussed in our FCE framework. Fully implement improvements to the family engagement system across all early learning programs, including reducing our family support service worker caseloads, and also we're working to increase our staff credentials. We're also seeking that another goal is that all programs must adapt a research-based DFSS approved parent engagement curriculum aligned with the PFCE framework. And we as DFSS are using the parents as teachers, or the PAT curriculum, for our parent education and all our program options. And we also, another one of our goals is all programs must implement the framework, the PFCE framework, throughout programming and operations to ensure family goals are met in support of achievement of child development goals, including our school readiness. The target population for the FCE framework and our outcomes. The support service delegate agency should be knowledgeable about the best practices for serving low-income, high-risk populations with the following characteristics: children birth to 5 and pregnant women, children and families living in poverty according to the federal poverty levels, FPL standards, children with families who have limited access to social services supports due to geography, transportation, knowledge, and income, children and families in communities characterized by environmental factors that negatively impact their socioeconomic stability, including homelessness. Some of the program requirements. You as respondents must demonstrate staffing capacity, the credentials, and expertise to conduct the services and activities required of this contract, including having a team of, at minimum, 5 subject matter experts, or SMEs, who have direct experiences related to FCE services. We also are seeking our respondents to focus the work of implementation science teams into the following categories: at minimum, improving family engagement services or systems as it relates to working with direct service agencies to reduce family service workers' caseloads based on our Chicago Early Learning Goals, our parent engagement curricula, and implementing the FPFCE framework with fidelity. We also seek respondents to be able to use the principles of adult learning theory, develop and deliver professional development trainings inclusive of single sessions, in-person, and distant learning formats for our Chicago Early Learning professionals through collaboration with the Chicago Early Learning Professional Development, Training Coordination, and Event Planning Support Service providers. Some of the performance goals and outcomes of this RFP, performance indicators include family partnership. We're seeking also community partnership. It is also the indicator of your FCE RFP to work with our programs and ensure program participation, and also maintain access to resources and continuity for our children and families. The goals and outcomes are as stated. 100% of our direct service delegate agencies will have documented action plans detailing their process in completing the 4 implementation science phases. We also are tracking as a goal that 90% of our direct service delegate agencies will be reporting improved compliance of our FCE program requirements and standards resulting from training and technical assistance via pre and post service delivery surveys. And now I would like to kind of break down a little bit more of our program indicators. Family partnership. We're seeking for you as our respondents to work with direct service delegate agencies, sites, and partner sites to support the development of family partnership goals and service plans for individual children and families to ensure positive FCE outcomes through the direct service delegate agency's strategic process of completing family partnership agreements, which includes engaging with enrolled pregnant women and other relevant family members, such as fathers, in the process. Community partnerships. We're seeking you to assist in establishing new and strengthening current community partnership agreements with local agencies and organizations. For example, cultural institutions, CPS, our LEA, or our local educational agency, early interventions, with using written community partnership agreements that include shared delivery, access and referrals to services, and sharing of information, ensuring the confidentiality of families and all partners. Program participation. We're seeking you to support delegate agencies in promoting equity, inclusiveness, cultural and linguistic responsiveness, and to share responsibility with parents for children's development, learning, and school readiness by offering activities that support parent-child relationships and developing and supplying agencies with culturally appropriate materials, i.e. Materials for parent communication, including handouts, visual aids, books, and other media in various formats that are responsive to the languages spoken by families in the program. That can be embedded within the operations of the direct service delegate agency and shared with parents and families. Access to resources and continuity. So we're also seeking you as respondents to facilitate focus groups and work group sessions to support direct service delegate agencies and DFSS to strengthen practices around child and family transitions between program models and children transitioning to kindergarten. Thoughtful and intentional strategies must be used to ensure full support of families during each of the transitions listed below, and must include engaging enrolled pregnant women and other relevant family members, such as fathers, in the discussion about program options. Transitional support provided to be inclusive of strategies and resources that promote activities to support our children transitioning between early childhood education programs, supporting children and families enrolling in the Chicago Early Learning Program, transitioning within Chicago Early Learning Programs, agency sites, or program environments, and transitioning from our infant and toddler programs to our preschool settings. And then also, again, supporting our children and families transitioning from preschool to kindergarten. Some of the selection criteria as it relates to DFSS is seeking respondents that clearly can describe their understanding and approach to implementing the parent, family, and community engagement framework to meet family and child outcomes. We're also seeking for you to demonstrate a proficient understanding and have appropriate strategies for using implementation sciences to support the work of family and community engagement services. We also seek that you will provide their agency's approach to intensive training and technical assistance, or TNTA, and the strategies you use. Selection criteria as it relates to program performance, outcomes, and quality. DFSS seeks respondents that demonstrate past performance working with target populations and with agencies that serve our target population and describe data that demonstrates improvement in family engagement. We're also seeking to know how you have used data to inform decisions and propose suggestions. In addition to your experience in providing training and professional development opportunities. Selection criteria as it relates to your organizational capacity. DFSS seeks respondents that demonstrate the capacity through selection of an appropriate project manager and support team who meets the expectations as outlined in this RFP. Adequate credentials and qualifications and experiences of all individuals. We're also seeking diversity and fluency of languages. We're also seeking experience in serving children birth to 5 and their families either indirectly or directly within their FCE experience. Selection criteria as it relates to reasonable cost, budget justification, and leverages the funds. DFSS seeks respondents that demonstrate that they have fiscal capacity to implement the proposed program, leverages other funds and in-kind contributions to support total program and administrative costs, also reasonable implementation costs and funding requests relative to its financial and human resources. The proposed budget supports the proposed scope of work or work plan. Also, there's some attachments that will be required with your RFP application. Please be sure, as a reminder, to attach your reports, studies, or other documentation that show your performance towards reaching program goals, demonstrate results and accomplishments. Also, be sure to attach your resumes for key staff that are overseeing the program. And as another reminder, please be sure to attach your organizational budgets for this program. Please make sure all program requirements are addressed. Selection and transition timeline. Today is June 2nd, and today we are holding the pre-proposal webinar, and we thank you all again for joining us today. Your applications are due on July 1st, 2022, and the program period will begin for this grant, for this RFP, for this contract on December 1st, 2022.
So now we're going to start to transition over to sort of like more about how do you make an application in the city of Chicago's e-procurement system. How do you do that, and how do you and how to do that successfully? I'm going to go through a few slides here, and then I think we're going to take a quick break to see if anybody has programmatic-based questions. So one of the things you're going to have to do as part of your application is you're going to be doing a budget or a cost proposal. Understand that the term of the contract that you would be applying for this opportunity is going to be from December 1st, 2022 through November 30th of 2025. And I believe that there is additionally the opportunity to have a 1-year extension off of that contract. So your contract term would be, could go to 2026. That would be contingent on funding availability and the contractor's performance and your performance in this role. The RFP, the amount for this RFP for 1 year is $1.1 million. And so when you do a budget for us, you should do a 1-year budget, and that is the amount of money that is on the table. Administrative costs for this program, as for all programs basically that this department does, is capped at 10%. So when you put in your administrative costs in your budget, 10% should be the cap on how much the city will pay you. If you want to have you want to demonstrate matching costs in that minimum 33% in-kind match, you can demonstrate matching costs on the administrative side, but the city is not going to pay, or in this case, Head Start is not going to pay more than 10% for your administrative costs. Cost categories are defined in the attachment in the e-procurement application as budget instructions. We go with basically the standard federal definitions of such. And then I also, we always like to say, be thoughtful and inclusive when developing your budget. Apply for your program's actual costs. And this is less for this particular opportunity where the budget is sort of, the amount is set, but we cannot give you more money for what you ask for. However, we can give you less. Anybody who has had experience in making applications, probably grant applications in general, but especially with the city, we will usually go in and after, when we make a funding decision, it is not unheard of for the city to come in and kind of realign the budget that you submitted. That number, usually it can go down. It is very, very unlike, it doesn't happen as often that it will go up. And so feel free, don't pad your costs, but definitely don't underbid. And then also to use the reasonable cost question in the application to discuss how you determine the costs that are reflected in your budget. So what we do look for, how did you come up with these numbers? So that is what we have to say in terms of guidance on how to do a budget. The common errors that we see in budgets, and I see this across the board for all of the DFSS RFPs, is to check your calculations on your fringes, to try to make an accurate and thoughtful assessment of how many supplies you may be using, because they are frequently over or under budgeted for, to put your budget in the appropriate column. In our budget documents, there's a share column. Please don't put your budget in the share column, because then we will think that you are basically have match money to do this and you are providing this program for free. That happened last year. I had somebody who applied literally for 6 different it was the same program medal. They applied made 6 applications, and in every budget they put their amount in the share amount, which made it hard. Like it was a comment. It's not a comment, but it certainly is an understandable error. But on our end, it becomes very hard for us to correct that, because that's what they said. That's what the submission was. And we prefer to be able to not have to go back and go up the command chain to get permission to reach out to an applicant and be like, we think you might have made a mistake. Also, show your match, as we discussed in the last slide. This program does require a 33.3% match, and we will be looking for that in the match column of the budget. The deadline for this RFP is July 1st. Our RFPs are all due at 12 o'clock noon Central Standard Time, and that is a hard deadline. We'll go through more about that in subsequent slides. But I wanted to now just sort of take a break and see if anybody had any programmatic questions about this RFP. Just for now, please put those questions into the question box. I see here we actually do have one. Thank you very much. What is the definition of direct service delegate agencies? Does that include all federally funded Head Start sites in the city, or just the ones directly funded by DFSS? And I'm going to ask Mr. Hill or Sir Rachel Burgess-Burnett to maybe take that question on. Additionally, all of the questions that are asked here will be part of an amendment that will be posted to the application website in e-procurement. This webinar and the questions that are their verbal answers will be posted on the DFSS website within the next probably 24 to 48 hours. So, sorry, that was my long intro, but can Sir Rachel, William, do you want to chime in on these questions?
We appreciate that. Thank you, Julia. Go ahead, Sir Rachel, I hear you.
Hi, good morning, everyone. And so in response to the question, the funding that we are putting into this RFP are for only those directly operated by the City of Chicago. These are not for all federally funded agencies in the City of Chicago. These are for support services for the agencies that we fund across our funded agency and our funding streams. And so it is the Head Start sites that are funded just through DFSS.
So here's another question is, as an agency, we are expected to assist delegate agencies with their movement through the implementation science phases. How many agencies are we expected to support?
So in response to that, the answer is yes. The reason that we've included that in the RFP is because we recognize that everybody is not at the exact same place. And so in assessing exactly where they are, if someone is already in the last phase and just needs a little bit of attention, then that's fine. But if there's someone who's really trying to understand how to support families and to do all the things that we're asking them to do, they would be one that would be starting at phase one in that implementation, and would then need an implementation plan to determine exactly what and how we're going to ensure that when they finish or get to the end of this implementation plan, that they've stood up internally a system that they're able to continue to serve and the families and the children, and of course, including their staff and family and community engagement. And that's the goal, is for all of our agencies through this process is to develop the tools and systems internally that's going to allow them to continue this work beyond the implementation phases that are supported.
Here we go. During the implementation phase, is there an expectation that FCE services will also be offered at the same time? Or is the expectation that this period is solely for data collection?
It can be a both and, again, based on where they are. The delegates that we have here in the City of Chicago on our funding streams are longstanding agencies. They've been doing work. Some need a little bit more than others to make sure that they have a comprehensive family and community engagement system within the organization. So we're going to be looking for data. Yes, we're going to be looking to make sure that they have an internal system that's been built from the work that the organization who's funded here has worked with them to make sure that it's documented within their organization. So will there be a both and? There will be a both and. In some cases, it really is. If we find that there's an agency that just isn't ready and doesn't have anything, that's going to be really working on that implementation phase. Data collected in that particular phase is exactly where they are, how is it going, what other things do they need. That's part of data collection as well. Those that are further along that implementation phase, there's going to be data that we're going to be collecting on what it is that they're doing, how it's working for them, how it's working for parents and families. And at the same time, a portion of the data collection is where are they in this phase and what's the next steps, what's needed. And so there's a both and to that. And I just wanted to make sure that I articulated both sides of that.
Great, though. In fact, the person who asked the question wanted to know about the assessment phase, not the implementation phase.
Oh, okay, okay.
Is your answer more or less the same?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Because when we're assessing them, we're trying to find out exactly where they are. That's data. And then as we begin to move them in the implementation phase, that's data. So it really is the same.
Perfect. So then here's another one. Do you have an idea of the total number of delegates we are expected to support?
The delegates across all of our federally funded agencies are 46, but right now we have about 98 delegates across our complement. The federal funding is the heaviest portion, and what we're trying to do for family and community engagement is really working towards ensuring that they are all standing up family and community engagement within their programs. And so the focus really is on the federal Head Start, Early Head Start Child Health Partnership, and the Early Head Start expansion programs. Many of them are duplicated. As you know, they have multiple funding streams in their agency. And so it really is about 46 total.
Are there any other, thank you so much for these great questions. Oh, it says approximately when will the funding announcement be made? Well, our applications are due on July 1st. the contract starts on December 1st. Sir Rachel or William, do you have an estimation of when you would like to make an announcement?
Would really like to be able to let agencies know in September. It takes us time from the closing to the reading, and then going through that evaluation and then awarding. It would be our goal, because we understand that people also need to be standing up programs, making any changes based on who's awarded, and so we want to be able to give people a chance with notification, letting them know as soon as we possibly can. But it takes about 45 days after the closing to get through the remaining part of the process. Again, just making sure part of this is internal, meaning that DFSS, going from reading to evaluation, going through the system of acknowledgement, and then being able to actually openly say who's actually been funded. So it takes a little bit of time for us to get through that process.
There are no further questions, and I think we're going to continue with our presentation, and we'll have time for other questions at the end of the presentation. So now, thank you so much, Sir Rachel. So now we're going to talk about making an application in the e-procurement environment. If you've never done business with the City of Chicago, you're going to need to register into iSupplier or e-procurement as soon as possible. That is what happens is you fill out a form, basically, that has some basic kind of operational information that you provide to the city. They send you back a email with a link, and then you are able to access the iSupplier system to set up your account. Vendors have accounts in iSupplier, and that allows them to access e-procurement. So it's sort of a two-part system. I find that often things that are coming from iSupplier or e-procurement end up in my junk or spam. So I highly, highly, highly encourage anybody dealing with iSupplier or e-procurement to check their junk and spam folders frequently, because that is where often the stuff just, it is generated from a computer, and it sort of it ticks off all the boxes from most emails in terms of, that they'll throw it in there. I like to tell people to review the narrative and application questions. I understand that our RFP and RFP narratives and scopes are rather dense documents, but they are jam-packed with just the kind of information that's going to help you make a great application. And you have to also understand that when you read our narratives and the selection criteria in the RFP document, those are directly aligned and connected to the application questions. And the application questions are, informed and, triaged and sort of triangulated with that narrative, and the selection criteria are what we do to develop our evaluation tools. So our evaluation tools, if you're looking for guidance or direction in how to answer a question or what direction your program might go in, you really want to refer to those narratives and align them with the selection criteria in answering the question, because that's where, that's kind of where the meat and the guidance is going to come to. You can also reach out to William, and he will, happily answer questions, although he will not write your RFP, your application for you. I always say carefully review the selection criteria. Here, Ms. Oster had asked, what is the word count for the narrative sections? There is a 4,000 character limit, which includes punctuation and spaces for every question, individual question. So each response is allowed with 4,000 characters. That's really about 2/3 of a single spaced page, I believe. So there's, you should be able to get in all you need to say. E-procurement works best with the Internet Explorer browser, which nobody uses, but since this time, it also works fine with pretty much every other internet, browser that people use: Firefox, Chrome, Safari, all of them. If you find that you are having a problem, or your computer is having a problem working in e-procurement, you can try to fire up that ancient Internet Explorer browser and see if it works a little bit better there. For the tech heads in the audience, the e-procurement's built on an Oracle platform, and apparently Oracle was developed to work best off of Internet Explorer. Obviously, since Internet Explorer has been discontinued, they have made adjustments. When you get into e-procurement, don't use the back button on your browser, because then e-procurement will sort of stop working, but it won't tell you, it won't save anything, and it will kick you out when you try to save. And then when you go back in, nothing will have been saved. So it will be, it's kind of tricky and mean that way. I fall for its tricks frequently in my own work in the e-procurement environment, and so I like to just tell people, yeah, don't use the back button. You can submit your application and later amend it up until the due date and time. So if you want to practice submitting and then you can pull it back, you can do that. I always encourage people to avoid the rush and possible mishaps by submitting early, and to plan on your submission taking 30 to 60 minutes. Late applications will not be accepted and really cannot be accepted. We can only accept applications via e-procurement, and once e-procurement closes the RFP, it literally, like, you can't reopen it. It just doesn't, it was not built that way, and it can't be done. The only way we could accept a late application is to reopen and repost the entire RFP and make everybody who had applied previously reapply. So we would prefer not to do that, and we would, especially given the tight timelines that we operate under for all things procurement. So we really want you to submit your application on time. I really suggest trying to do it a day before, just in case. You never know. Like it just makes an already sort of stressful experience less stressful. And so I would shoot for submitting your application, that Thursday instead of that Friday, and then you can have the lovely long holiday weekend for the 4th, and have this off of your plate and onto ours. So we do have some help for you in navigating e-procurement. There is a hotline or a helpline at 312-744-4357 or 744-HELP. The hotline operates during business hours only, though, Monday through Friday, 9 to 5. Please leave them a message. They will get back to you if you're having issues with e-procurement. You can also call me, and my contact information is in the RFP document as well as at the end of this presentation, and I will be happy to help you through whatever problem you are having via e-procurement. You can also email me. You can email the hotline, and that's I have their information is also, their email information is also in the RFP document, and I think I think it might be a later screen. I see here, if you were, this is out of sequence, but if you are a new agency requiring or applying, this is the kind of stuff that you would need to upload into your iSupplier account and also to make an application with us, and to, I think, get your iSupplier account, you would need to be able to at least upload your PIN number. So here we go, back to technical assistance. You can, if you don't want to call people or you're having a hard time getting through, customer service at cityofchicago.org is how to get a hold of them. Understand that this is a system that is for all the RFPs throughout the city, and so sometimes there are wait times. They try to get back to everybody within 48 hours, which also means don't try, plan accordingly for the limitations of this system, so in a way that so you don't get shorted. If you have a customer support problem, like, this is why I really encourage people to try to do their applications early, because if you run into a problem, it gives the people who you're calling that much more time to try to resolve your problem. I can solve a problem. I cannot always solve a problem when I only have 15 minutes to do it. If you're the kind of person that does not want to talk to people in receiving your technical assistance, and your training materials, you like documents and videos and sort of step-by-step things, by all means, check out this link to online training materials. The ones that are going to be the most relevant for you guys are going to be under the delegate agency contracting section, and I think it's like the middle section on that screen. There's a lot of just screenshots of how you're going to do it, and some videos also walking through other screenshots. And speaking of screenshots, I'm now going to talk to you about how to do two common things in the e-procurement environment. One is how to accept an amendment, and the second would be how to submit your application. So to accept an amendment in the e-procurement environment, we do amendments to provide additional information, which is also sometimes just critical information. So for instance, all of the questions that you guys ask will be put into an amendment and posted in e-procurement. You will be asked by the city and the e-procurement system, via the e-procurement system, to accept that amendment, which makes basically, we're saying you attest that you have read the amendment and you understand the new information or the clarifications or the changes that have been introduced in that amendment. So just to start, we're going to basically, you're going to log into your e-procurement account and you're going to start opening the information, or you're going to start to make an application in e-procurement for the RFP that you're interested in, which would of course be this one, the Family and Community Engagement Services. And so if you're wanting to just start an application, you would go to this right-hand side under Actions and hit Create Quote. If you hit Go, I believe, then you're going to, but you're going to get this warning that you have to acknowledge, so to be considered for an award, you must acknowledge each amendment and submit or resubmit all your responses. If you've already started a quote, the action of accepting the amendment is going to pull all of your work from your original application into this amended RFP application. So that's why you want to accept the amendment. You also, if you haven't, you're going to accept the amendment prior to starting your quote or starting your application. So first thing you're going to do is you're going to view the amendment history. And when you do that, it will take you to this screen, which is to beginning, how to begin the acceptance and acknowledgement process. Here you'll go and you'll see here circled 1 on the left-hand side. If you click open that document number, you're going to see the RFP, all the attachments, of which the amendment is one of them. And you're going to be able to see, all the changes. You're also going to be able to see the application. You won't, I don't think, be able to make, enter in information, but you can review stuff. And then if you want to just review the amendment itself, here in this middle, it sort of says there's the amendment description. So it's like a little one sentence that I write that sort of says what's in there. Like we're changing the date, or the amendment has all of the questions from the webinar in it, or if it's something really big, like I tend to put that in there so you know what you're up for or up in. And then here, if you want to just look at the amendment document, you're going to hit this little eyeglass icon, and that will take you just to the amendment itself. After you've done all that, you're going to acknowledge your amendment by hitting the Acknowledge Amendments button on the upper or lower right-hand side of the screen. That will take you to this screen where you're going to accept the terms and conditions of the RFQ by checking this really tiny box, and also acknowledge the changes made to the RFQ via the amendment. So basically, you're accepting that you have read the amendment, you understand what the changes are or what the additional information is, and that you're going to acknowledge it. So you're going to hit the Acknowledge button on the right-hand side here. When you do that, it will take you to this screen where you confirm your acknowledgement of the amendment. I have no idea why you wouldn't confirm it. I imagine if you hit no, it will just take you back to the other screen and you can look at the amendment again, but you'll hit yes. And that will take you to this final step where you accept the terms and conditions and you'll do that by clicking another tiny, tiny box at the bottom of the left-hand side of the screen and then clicking accept on the top or bottom of the right-hand side of the screen. And that is how you will have accepted an amendment. I imagine that you will, of course, be a fuller and more complete human being for that process. And now you can go on to learning how to submit an application, bolstered and improved by the acceptance of the amendment that you just did. So accepting an application or submitting an application, you will now see why I really push people to do this a day early, and also push people to at least give themselves 30 to 60 minutes to do this. When you're ready to submit your application, you're going to first start by saving your draft one last time, and then you're going to click continue. When you click continue, what it's going to do is going to have e-procurement. It's going to do kind of like a real fast scan of your entire application and give you error messages, which I think is kind of negative language, but clearly these people who did this are, I don't know. I thought I have a lot of issues with the linguistics and how this particular system communicates. I think it's sometimes a little negative. Anyway, so it's going to basically do a scan, and it's going to give you these error messages that sort of are heads up as to what the e-procurement system thinks you might have skipped or be missing. And we're going to go through two of the most common error messages that people get, so that you'll know, if you get them, you'll know how to handle them. One of the things I do when I'm not doing RFPs is play around and beta test upgrades for the e-procurement system, and so I have gotten very good at breaking it. And I can tell you that, you know, sometimes when I have messed around with this, I'll get like 6 or 8 error messages, often for like the same time, but still, it's really nice to get all that read, you know. Anyway, so here you have the very common error message. You must quote on at least one line in the RFQ. You'll see here the error messages direct to something left undone in the application. So this example, the error message indicated that the lines, under the lines tab, had not been filled out. In e-procurement, they have this lines tab. We don't use the lines tab in the RFP phase. It comes into play in the contracts phase. But unless you put placeholder numbers into this lines, the lines sheet, which you will get to by clicking on the lines tab here, put the placeholder numbers in, and that error message should go away. It can be any number. It can be the number from your budget if you want, or it can just be whatever number you want. Pick your favorite number, put your lotto numbers in there, whatever you please. But you got to put something in there, because those zeros are going to trick and get you this error message. The second error message that people will get frequently is this quote value is required for requirement first name. A quote value is e-procurement speak for the 4,000 character limited answer to your application question, and the requirements is the application the application questions as a whole, and then every application question has a unique name. In this case, the application question was first name, and it was basically just saying you forgot to put in your first name into this box. So once you do that, it does make sure that you answer all of the questions, and that's kind of helpful. So those are the two error messages that I feel people encounter the most. There are certainly others. I hope you don't encounter any. So once your application is free of errors, you are ready to proceed and submit. And at this point, when you click continue, you won't get error messages. You'll get the application into the review and submit phase, which you can see here. And at this point, you're able to scroll through your entire application and make one final check. This is also the time where you see this printable view over on the right-hand side here. That printable view, it will allow you to print out your application as a PDF in the format that we see, that we will see it when we get it. I bring this up because when you hit submit, e-procurement will kind of suck away your application, and you will not actually be able to access it any longer. I do usually tell people to do their applications in a Word document and keep it so that you have something that you can use for other applications, or that you can also remember what you said. This printable view will give you a non-manipulatable PDF. It's better than nothing, but it also, we have had people that have submitted, they have come to contract, and then they have to sheepishly admit that they do not have a copy of what they submitted. And could we please provide them with the application so that they know what they're supposed to be doing? That's probably not the most fun conversation one would ever have. So printable view, keep it for your files, make it into wallpaper, whatever you want. So this, after you're in this review and submit phase, you're going to be able to scroll down. You can see everything that you answered. And at the very, very bottom of that, you're going to come to this electronic signature. You're going to put in your name and your title first, and then you're going to click the box. If you click the box first, you'll get an error message telling you to put in your name and your signature, your title first. And then at the other end of the other right-hand side of this, at the bottom of this page, there is this submit button. You will click on the submit button, and then you will see a submittal confirmation screen. So the e-procurement system will send the email that is associated with any of the applications to a confirmation email. They'll send it to that, they will send it saying that you submitted within 24 hours. But if you want more timely confirmation, you just email me or call me, and I can see when you've submitted within 30 seconds of the submission. The minute you hit submit, I can pretty much see that that it's there. And I am more than happy to confirm that we have received your application if you have any doubts or you just want the extra confirmation for your own peace of mind. I can totally relate to that. And so that is all I have to say about e-procurement and what needs to do or what your experience might be with it for those two functions. And now we're going to basically go back to questions that you might have. And here's the contact information for myself and for Mr. Hill. If you have questions, you can email or call either of us. I would call Mr. Hill for program questions, because if you ask me them, I will just refer you to Mr. Hill, because I know many things, but I don't know the specific details and ins and outs of this particular program. Not being a program person, being more of a sort of bureaucrat. If you have questions about e-procurement or anything about just making a general application, you can definitely reach out to me, and I would be more than happy to talk to you. So at this point, we're going to open it up for more questions if people have them. This, as I said, as you know, this webinar is being recorded. This recording will be posted on the DFSS website underneath the funding opportunity, this specific funding opportunity. So when you go on the DFSS website, you'll see a funding opportunity tab that you can click on, and then you go to the funding opportunity that you're interested in, and you'll see a link to this on the DFSS YouTube channel. The amendment or the questions that have been answered today will all be part of an amendment, which you now know how to accept. We are so excited about this opportunity, and we are so excited that you guys came to listen about it and find out more. So if that's, I don't know, I'm not seeing any other questions in there. Are there any other comments that you would like to make, Sarethel or William, in regards to this RFP? Any, I don't know, hot tips?
Yeah, the only comment I'd make is first, thank you. Thanks for attending today. Thanks for your interest in this. Again, this is, when we're thinking family and community engagement, it really is about strengthening families. It's ensuring that children are getting quality services, both internal and organizations, and that we're strengthening parents who are working with their children and families at home. And so, it's key to what we do here, and we are definitely excited about continuing this work as we move into our futures here at DFSS. So thanks again.
And thank you, Julie and Sarethel. Nothing further to add, except for, as Sarethel just mentioned, about strengthening the family relationships is also about that sustainability for that kindergarten readiness and beyond. And nothing further to add, but again, just thanking you all for joining us today as we kind of dove in deeper into this RFP. And we hope to receive your submissions. Thank you.
Questions about this RFP, we're gonna stop recording. We're gonna let you guys get on with your busy Thursdays. And please, if you have any additional questions later, don't hesitate to reach out. We're here to help you make this application so that you can help the Chicago's youngest citizens. Have a wonderful day. Have a wonderful weekend, and we look forward to seeing your applications by noon on July 1st. Take care.